Hey, this is Lana McCara, and I'm so happy to welcome Carnivore Kip to the broadcast today. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been following Kip for a long time, almost since the very beginning of his channel, which was really close to the time when we both started Carnivore pretty much the same time. We're going to get into that in a minute. And I just want to say that I haven't been on because Hurricane Idalia hit my house, and I'm in Live Oak, Florida, which got the brunt of it. And my house has been out of commission for a whole month. I've been living with family and out of my studio. And so I am so happy to be back. I'm going to be interviewing Zero Carb Life Dave next week. And I got a whole lineup of people coming up. So just stay tuned. We got more to come here. So, Kip, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a working man with a family and it's not easy. And so thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. It's my honor to be here. I'll just say, like, I mean, of course, anytime someone asks me to go on their channel and talk with them, it's always an honor, but it's even greater today because like you said, like you mentioned briefly, you started watching my channel from the beginning. And I remember when I didn't have hardly any subscribers, me and you commenting back and forth. And then ever since my channel's been since the beginning, ever since then, you've always commented on my videos and talked to me back and forth. And I feel like I've kind of gotten to know you a little bit. And so it's a real honor to be on here talking with you tonight.
Oh, I'm so glad. I didn't want to do a channel, and I hadn't really thought of it. I have my own just under my name, Lana McCara. Hadn't done much with it. I kind of use it to park things, kind of park things over there. And so when you had so much trouble with breaking the carb addiction and going through those times of the really, really deep times, it just touched me. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a channel on carb addiction. We need to talk about that in a focused way and help people because, yeah, we love meat and I love meat and I crave meat. I actually drove all the way from my house 15 miles to the grocery store. I live way in the country too. Um, and to buy a piece of meat today because I was just hungry for meat. Everything I had was frozen. I couldn't wait for it to thaw. So I went to the store. So, but there's more to it than just loving the meat. There's the internal uh the cravings and the mind stuff, the garbage mind stuff that happens. And so I wanted to have a place where people can come and talk about this carb addiction and get some help and get some inspiration and encouragement for it, not just sprinkled in among all the other stuff, but actual focus on it because it is an addiction.
Oh, it definitely is an addiction. Like I've dealt with it for a long time, and I'm sure we might get into some of that tonight, but I've dealt with it for a very long time, and it's a constant battle. And even now, I still, as long as I've been on this carnivore journey, I still today struggle with it. And I feel like it gets better with time, and the cravings and stuff, they don't come up as often, but sometimes that struggle, I'm reminded quickly that, hey, that little the little bad Kip on the inside of me, he's still in there, and he still would love to have some donuts and ice cream and stuff like that. So I mean, I have to try to fight to keep him at bay all the time.
Yes, absolutely. We can't think we got it licked because I don't know that we ever will. We might, but when I went through a personal I've been through a lot of in my personal journey in a lot of areas, not just with food, but I came from a very abused childhood. I was extremely abused as a child. And one of the things that happened to me was I was hungry. I was hungry as an infant. My mother was 15 years old when I was born, and she
Wow.
was unstable. She wasn't even fit to have a kid. I don't think today she would have been allowed to keep me, but this was, back way back in the day, and I could tell you how old I am, but I'm not going to. Long time ago, though, I'll tell you. They didn't do then what they do now to step in. If there's a young woman and she was only 15 when she got pregnant, she was just barely 16 when I was born. And so it took me a long time to realize that my struggle with food is primal. The things that happen to you when you're a newborn, you're not going to just get in there and rub that out and erase it. It's going to be in there because it is a core part of your being. Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is when you mentioned when you were in first grade or how much you weighed or whatever. But what would you say would have been the first time you realized that food was more than just food for you?
Well, I tried not to think about it when I was younger. I had people constantly telling me, "Hey, boy, if you don't stop doing this, you're going to be 300 pounds. You're going to be 400 pounds. You're going to be super big." Because everybody else could see how much I was eating, and everybody else could see, how big I was. Because, like you said, I was 100 pounds in kindergarten. I was 300 pounds in probably the 7th grade. And so I've never been small in my life. So, or as far as I can remember, I've never been small. And I was always bigger than everybody else in class or whatever. And so I, for years, tried to just pretend it wasn't a thing, but it got so bad, like in my later teenage years, once I hit like that 400-pound mark, where I started getting scared, like, hey, like this is really, really out of hand. And that was about the time, because whenever you're 16, you're not, a lot of 16-year-olds, they're not thinking about dieting. They're thinking about hanging out with their friends and all that stuff. But once I got, I don't know, like 18, 19, 20 years old, I started realizing like, hey, man, there's so many things that other people can do that you can't do. And because of the way you're eating and gaining all this weight, and that was around the time where I started trying different diets and started trying like doing low calorie type things and stuff like that that would try to get some weight off. And I even started like going to the gym and stuff. And that would always last like 2 weeks. And then after maybe sometimes I could get it to last 3 to 4 weeks, and then I would be done. I would just always stop and stop and stop. And I tried many things. And thankfully I found Carnivore now, because I found the secret, I think. I found what works the best for me so far.
Yeah, so you would agree that it was something that was in you from a child. It's something that was there from the beginning, pretty much.
Yes, but I tried to ignore it.
You tried to ignore.
I kept trying to ignore it because nobody wants to admit their faults and or admit the things that they struggle with or whatever. So I would just be like, nah, this food tastes good. But ever since I was a little kid, I was always drinking tons and tons of sweet tea and always wanting cake. When I'd get off the bus from school, I was like wondering if mama had some little Debbie cakes in the pantry, or I knew where the mac and cheese was and the ramen noodles, and I was always looking for that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was always there. I just tried to ignore it because, I mean, I was enjoying it. Like, I mean, it's kind of like a kid at some party drinking alcohol. They're enjoying it and loving it, and they're not wanting to take it away. They're wanting more of it. But it was slowly killing me.
Yes, absolutely. And it does, all of us, whether we get to be 400 pounds or not, it's still killing us with all the different symptoms that we end up with and all that. I went to a kind of I don't know, I guess you call it a breakthrough weekend in March, which was after I started Carnivore. I was a little worried about going because I wasn't sure what the food was going to be while I was there. But they did have food out and all that, but there was some things I could eat off that table, which was amazing. It wasn't all sugar and that kind of stuff. But something that I realized when I was there, because I never really been around, my grandfather was an alcoholic, and that's why my mother was so messed up. But I never was around anybody that was drinking a lot, that, and I never was a drinker either. I was married to a pastor. We never had alcohol anywhere around us. Um, so I never took that first drink, right? I never got started. And so I wasn't around it. But as I was there in this room with maybe 30 people, there was somebody there was trying to just on the start of the journey to stop drinking from being an alcoholic. And he said something to the effect, well, it's only been 5 weeks, it's only been 5 weeks. And they said, he started, the leader of the group, he started calling out, well, it's X number of years for me. What about you? And he yelled it out to the group, and all these numbers started popping up, and people were shouting out the date that they stopped drinking and how long it's been and all that. And you had 6 years and 10 years and 25 years and 3 years and 6 months, and all these things were coming out. And then he said, sober is sober. It doesn't matter how long.
That's
And
good.
the correlation between that and getting off carbs was significant to me. It touched me, because this is not something you just flip a switch and you just turn it off and it's done. It's something that you've got it everywhere. Um I tried to find seasoned salt without sugar in it, and you know what I'm talking about. Like,
It's
no,
hard.
no, no. And I couldn't believe it. It's everywhere. Sugar is everywhere. Um, so it's hard, because you could be getting it without even realizing that you're getting it if you're out of place, like traveling or something. Um, so this is serious business. It isn't just a lack of willpower.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about willpower?
I mean, I don't have a problem with willpower. I think that I feel like we can use willpower to take us so far, but I feel like we need to have knowledge, and we need to have like some type of boundaries that we set for ourselves or whatever, that like are going to help us with the things that, when we find what triggers us, like we will need, it'll take less willpower if we steer clear of those things. If we try to steer clear of, like for me, there's different things that they trigger me that I'm learning, and when I do, I make mental notes so that the next time I'm in a similar situation, I can kind of try to dodge that bullet instead of just caving in. Because whenever you talk about the carb addiction always being there, and the sugar addiction and things like that, like, I mean, I feel like in most modern societies, there's food on every corner, in every gas station, in every grocery store. There's all these different things, and in our country especially, there's anything you can think of is in the grocery store. And and we have to go to the grocery store to get food, unless we're just 100% living off the land. And so I mean, unless we were just stuck to be out in a desert somewhere, like stranded, like then we're gonna fight these little battles to not give in, because it might be when you're at the gas pump and there's a commercial that comes on that's talking about something sweet or some ice cream or something like that, or you go to watch a movie with your friends, and there's popcorn and all this other different candy and all that stuff. It's everywhere that we go, and it's around every corner. And so I'm trying to learn things, that barriers that I can set up for myself, and ways that I can, or what I can do in that situation to help me, because I'm learning that although I have willpower, sometimes that willpower runs out, and sometimes I'll just cave in anyway. And so I'm trying to learn different techniques, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying to learn little techniques that I can do and things that I can do that will help me.
That is such a great point, because we have habits that we form through the years that we do, and we do it without thinking. And next thing you know, there it is right there staring us in the face. And to realize that the habits are things that we need to change. Change your habits, and then you'll change your temptations to a great deal. I was reading a book called French Women Don't Get Fat. This was way back in the day, right? Because I was always worried about gaining weight, always worried about it. And I was gaining more and more as years go by, more and more. The pounds were going on, they weren't coming off. And the things I did when I was younger didn't work anymore. And so I read this book called French Women Don't Get Fat. And one of the things that it said, which French people are generally pretty slim. I think their food, the food availability there is cleaner than it is here. But she said, if you have a problem with a bakery and you walk past the bakery on your way home from work, then you need to go a different route. Just don't go by the bakery anymore. Just go another way. And that always stuck with me. If I am so used to going through the McDonald's drive-through to get $1 ice cream cone, which was one of my habits, then just don't go that way anymore. McDonald's is over there, go a different way. And
so basically what you're saying is that we need to move to France. because like I think about tribes like the Inuit and the different tribes or whatever, and they don't have the struggles that we do. For one, because everybody always talks about that they eat fat and animals and stuff, but really what it is that's what they have. They don't have, McDonald's on every corner, and they don't have all those different little temptations that we have, because that's what it is little temptations that's there. And sometimes, and I mean, it's just sometimes if you're constantly staring at the temptation and staring at it, you'll catch yourself slipping. And that's why I agree with them about trying to go a different route or something like that. And it is hard whenever you live somewhere that on every corner, like I'm watching a football game the other night and trying to just enjoy the football game. And I'm over here eating my steak or whatever. And they're showing ads of like Cheez-It chips and all these different crackers and stuff. You can't even watch a sports event without having the commercials be all these different marketing companies trying to sell you these products. And I know that they got to do that to make their money and stuff like that, but it's constantly shoved in our face. And they're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing it, and they're going to keep doing it. So we have to wise up and figure out ways that we can overcome that stuff, because they're definitely not going to stop. They're not working for you. They're working for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I thought about that too, since I went to that event, which helped me tremendously to get a new perspective. And that is how much, for somebody that would be an alcoholic, how much liquor is everywhere, also in movies and other places. And if you have a problem with that, and everybody's sitting in a bar down in glass after glass, I mean, how could you even watch a movie? But we do that also because they're sitting there eating all kinds of stuff that we might really have a problem with. And we're trying to also keep our head out of that game. We don't want to be in that mindset anymore. So yeah, we are bombarded daily with all of these images and ads and subliminal stuff, pictures and all that. They are after our mind.
Yep.
Because that's how
what they get paid. That's what they get paid to do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So now that you're in this stage of your journey, how has your perspective on food changed?
My perspective on food changed about a month or two after I started carnivore. Like, because I finally got to a point, probably about a month in, where whenever I walked in the grocery store and I seen all the colors, it looked like a rainbow of all the different colors and of all the different products that they sell. And I just, at that moment, I just felt like we've been lied to, and I felt like, it honestly felt like everything that I was looking at. And sometimes when I'm walking through the store now, I try to stay in the perimeters and stay on the outside or whatever. But sometimes I got to take a shortcut to get to where I'm going. And when I walk down the aisle, like if I pass through the candy aisle or something like that, and I just see it, just everything is fake. It's not even real food. And seeing all that stuff about a month or two in, I mean, it kind of made me mad because, like, that's what companies are selling us. They're making billions of dollars on selling us stuff as food that's not even food, that's killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I wasn't gonna recognize that whenever I was still down in that stuff every day and eating the donuts and eating the cheesecake. But after being on carnivore for a while and kind of getting my head clear, and not constantly, like, hunger changed. Like, I used to think with my stomach, and now I think more up here. And, like, I mean, hunger is totally different for me now than the way it used to be. And so now that I can see food differently, it's just gave me a whole new perspective. And it really does upset me whenever I walk in grocery stores and whenever I'm thinking about that stuff, because now I have to think about my daughter as she grows up. When she's 4 years old and she's standing in line with me at a grocery store, they're going to have like little treats and candies at eye level for her to see, and they're trying to sell that stuff to her, and she's only 3 or 4 years old. And, like, at that age, she doesn't know, everything right and wrong and stuff like that, but or what's healthy and not healthy. A lot of little kids, they don't understand, or they don't care at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But those companies, they know better, but they're still going to keep doing it. And it's like they don't care. They just care about how much money they made that year.
Yeah, I was watching a movie recently, and this mother, there were two different things. I watch a lot of movies because I'm a writer, and I always want to see stories and see how they work. I do a lot of analyzing on the movies, but this little girl heard the ice cream truck, and so she gets out of her chair and she's like, "Mommy, mommy, please, please." And so the mother goes and gives her some money, and she goes to the ice cream truck. And I thought, what a terrible habit to teach a child. When you hear the ice cream truck, you're just like, that dog in Pavlov's experiment. When the bell rings, you gotta look for ice cream. Um,
Yep.
conditioning, conditioning, conditioning. And then there was another movie where was another child, and the mother said, if you do such and such, you can have an ice cream bar. Rewarding with this horrible food or non-food. So it really came back to me so clearly how much we are, and our children are, conditioned that these sweet things, sugar, total sugar uh, things, I don't even want to call them food, is a treat. It's a reward. It's what you live for, right?
Who come up with the idea that for people's birthday that it has to be about cake, or every event in this country, any family event, any social event, everything revolves around food. And it's always who's making this, who's making the cake, who's making the cheesecake, who's making the carbs, and who's bringing the mac and cheese. And at least in my family, that's how it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
And my coworkers and everything. And it's never, hey, who wants to go have have fun and go play some putt golf or something, and then it's always like, hey, if we're gonna do that, where are we going to eat at, and let's go get the worst food possible. And so, I mean, we have been conditioned. We've been conditioned to everything is revolves around food, and like you said, the ice cream truck and the birthday parties and everything. And now, and I try to limit what I can, but sometimes, like, I know there's some people that I watch on this carnivore journey that will say, man, I'm not even going to birthday parties anymore. And me, I can't say that. Like, I understand, but like, I still have to keep living my life. Like, and I'm not gonna not go to, my nephew's birthday party because they're gonna have cake at the party.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna, know in my mind that they're gonna have cake, and I need to prepare mentally so that whenever I get there, I can not have the cake. But I mean, I have to keep living my life. I don't want to live my life and feel like I have to stay stuck in my house my whole life because there are temptations out there.
Mm-hmm. So how do you prepare yourself when you know that you're going to say a birthday party or some other celebration where there's going to be
Well,
a lot of
I,
junk food?
well, I just tell myself, why did you start this to begin with? You started this because of your daughter and because you want to be there for her. And if you're going to constantly give in all the time, then you're going to gain all the weight back. Because I mean, you know that I've lost a lot of weight this year, and things have been going great. And if I'm not saying that I haven't slipped up, because I have. You know that I've slipped up. But if I make a habit of slipping up and constantly caving in, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. But if I constantly do that, then I'm just going to gain all the weight back and give up. So I just have to tell myself, no, it's not going to happen. And there may be a time where I'm too weak and I do slip up. But I just constantly, I'll try to remind myself. And there have been times like this past weekend or the weekend before, I had to talk myself out of something because man, I got this perfect opportunity. We're going to this restaurant and I can eat this. But I sat there and was trying to remind myself of what happened the last time that I slipped up. And the last time, how I felt, and my shoulder started hurting again, and all those different things. And so thinking about that made me be like, okay, you know what you need to keep doing. You know it's not worth it, and so let's not slip up. So I guess thinking of the consequences, thinking, because I know when I slip up, especially now, if I slip up for a day, it probably doesn't affect me that bad. But if I slip up for 3 or 4 days, that inflammation kind of builds up, and the shoulder pain comes back, and plus you just feel sluggish. Like carbs and stuff and sugar, they only taste good for that few minutes while you're eating it. And that part is awesome. But then after that, you're just like, you feel like you're just have no energy and you just want to lay on the couch and sleep. And if somebody's like, hey man, you want to go for a walk, or you want to go, go do something, go to the creek or something, you're like, nah, I just kind of want to lay here and watch Netflix. And it's because of the junk that you put in your body. And so all that stuff is a reminder to me not to do that.
That's good. When you're thinking about what will happen tomorrow if
Oh
you
yeah.
do this today. Yeah. Yeah. I try to eat something before I go. I try to fill up as much as I can before I go.
That's a good idea too, because if you're full on bacon and ribeyes and hamburger meat and all that stuff,
Yeah.
then by the time you get there, it's not. I mean, you see that food and you're just like, oh, because you're already full anyway.
Right, right. I read that in a comment somewhere. Even when going out to eat, like if you want to spend some time with some people, but you don't want to get over there, maybe they're going to a restaurant, that doesn't have a lot of options for you to eat before you go, and then you could just get a little appetizer or something and don't have to feel like you have to have a full meal, but you can still sit and talk and enjoy the the company, just eat before. And I have to admit, going to restaurants doesn't thrill me like it used to. I used to love eating out. I mean, when I was married, that's what we did. We went out to eat. We didn't do anything else. We just went out
Hmm.
to eat. And I love that. But it doesn't really thrill me like it used to.
Yeah. Uh, it's harder for me at restaurants now too. There's very few restaurants that really get me excited. Now, I still love going to the Brazilian steakhouse because it's like carnivore heaven. You know, when you go to a Brazilian steakhouse, they just cutting up this meat right off the bone or off the with the little swords and all that stuff. And so I'm always excited to go somewhere like that. I like to go to seafood restaurants too. Sometimes I'll go to a steakhouse, but a lot of times, honestly, it's just as cheap, well, cheaper, and it tastes better to make your own steak at your house. So
Yeah.
I just don't do it. But whenever I'm in the situation of going to parties and things like that, I've also started trying to, because my family, by this point, I've been doing carnivore for 9 months now. Pretty much most people that know me, they know what I'm doing. So if they invite me to a party, they're usually going to try to have something there that I can eat. And that's what I try to do is focus on the things that I can eat while I'm there instead of focus on all the things that I can't eat. Because I'm like, I mean, yes, if we're having a football game party over at my family's house and they're making all this different pasta and all this other different stuff, but then they decide to cook some steaks or some hot dogs or whatever on the grill because they know that I like that. So I get it. I'll try to get well, I don't even have to try that hard because I like that stuff too. But
Mhm.
I'll tell myself, hey, look at what you can have. You can sit here, you can eat as much of this steak as you want. And just thinking positively like that actually helps me.
That is so great because you're what you're saying there is your family starting to get used to the fact that you have changed and they're
Mhm.
accommodating that for you. And that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I was at my
Yeah, they'll
sister's.
throw like they'll say, "Hey, I'm on," or like even if it's not a big party, like if they invite us over for supper for the night, they'll go ahead and have like a pound of hamburger meat thawed out whenever I get there. Whether I'm cooking it on their grill or one of them's making it for me, they'll have it thawed out, or they'll do some pork loins or something on their smoker, and they'll have it even if they're eating mac and cheese and fried chicken or whatever, they'll have me something because they know I'm coming. And so that really helps for, to have people to remember me in those situations.
Right. That's so supportive and that's so it makes you feel like you're not alone. They're helping, they're wanting to encourage you and give you what you need. My sister does a like a cutting board with meats and cheeses on it, prosciutto and salami and some of these things and cheese. Um, and I really don't eat that much cheese anymore. I just don't have a taste for it. But if I'm there and it's kind of a party spirit, then I will eat prosciutto with a piece of cheese. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and eat the whole thing. I'll eat one or two. But,
Mhm.
that to us is kind of a little bit of a like pushing the line a little bit because it's not, it's
Mhm.
processed.
Yeah.
Um, but still, it's carnivore. And,
Yeah.
we can do that instead of going for the chips and dip. It's a whole lot better.
Yeah, a processed hot dog is way better than the chips and dip, and way better than, I mean, yes, you really don't need anything processed. I get that. But like in those situations, if somebody says, "Hey, I'm invite you over to my kid's birthday," I went to a birthday party this summer, and it was at the public pool, and so we had the public pool rented out, and we were all swimming and everything. They cooked hot dogs, and they had chips and dip and all this other stuff. And me, I ate like 8 hot dogs. and I mean, it sounded like a lot of hot dogs, but I was out there swimming the whole time and I ate the hot dogs. I'm sure I burned them off quick with all that swimming that I did for like 2 or 3 hours. And so I didn't worry about the fact that I ate a processed hot dog because I mean, you sometimes things happen in life and I just got to live a little bit and be in that moment, and it didn't affect me at all. The next day I got up and was perfectly fine. But if I would have ate the bun, and if I would have ate the mayonnaise and all the Doritos that they had and the cupcakes that they had, then we would have had a problem. And so I'm not that worried about having those hot dogs on occasions. I don't believe that I should go eating that stuff as a regular thing, but sometimes things happen.
Yeah, and it's still carnivore.
Hmm.
I think one of the self-sabotages that happen sometimes is we set the bar so high that it's not maintainable, and then we want to blame ourselves, and then we go into that emotional low because we set the bar too high. You have to live your life. You can't, live inside this tiny little box where you can't make it. You just can't manage it. You're going to jump out of that eventually because it gets too hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think about I've talked with Dr. Anthony Chafee multiple times in the live stream and that we do, and he has talked about how he does just beef and salt. And I would love to get to that point. I would love to get to that point where I could just eat beef and salt. And there's people that get to that point and they always do it, but me, I'm not there yet. Like if I tried to do that right now, I'm fearful that like a month in or something like that, I'm gonna slip up because I tried to do something so extreme right now. I'm just trying to take little steps to get me closer to that. Like cut this little thing out, then do that for a while, and then cut this little thing out, and then get to that point maybe one day. But everybody can't just flip the switch and be Dr. Anthony Chafee. Like, I mean, he's different than a lot of people.
Well, he's been doing this a long time. He didn't get into this in one day either. It took him a
Yeah,
while to get
true.
there.
Yeah, and you can get to that point, and there's some people that get to that point very, very quickly. Like Ferrigno Freedom, Dante, he flipped a switch and he got there. Some people have that mindset. But me, with the problems that I had, it's just like it's very hard for me to just go to, and plus all the barbecue that I've cooked over the years,
Yeah.
it just salt uh on the different meat that I smoke all the time. It is good, but it just doesn't taste as good. And so I do like a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of garlic, things like that. And I know there's some carbs in the garlic and there's some oxalates in the pepper. I know that. And I want to cut it out eventually, but it's very, very hard. It's very hard for me.
Right, right. And I found, because I think we started within a couple days. I started on December 28th of this past year.
Hmm.
And I think you started in January.
Yeah, I started January 2nd.
So it'd be about 5 days, 5 days different, big old 5 days.
You got me beat though.
So what I found is that things started dropping off, that I didn't even have to like make a plan or a decision or cut back or anything. But I started out eating any kind of meat there was. I didn't try to limit what kind of meat I was eating. And I was eating eggs. I was putting whole cream in my coffee, and um, I was eating cheese whenever I wanted it. And I was making meatballs with cheese in them, grated cheese. Um, but eventually, I'd be eating something and all of a sudden I just think, I'm not really enjoying this. I think I could just stop eating this. I don't really like it anymore. And things just started dropping off. And now I don't even buy whole cream anymore. I don't have to have coffee anymore. My coffee dropped off, and I was shocked. I've been drinking coffee for a long time and loving it. I would get mad if I had something happen to my coffee. You go through McDonald's and you get your iced hazelnut coffee and they didn't do it right. You
Oh.
take that first sip and you're like, it's not right. I got to march in
Yeah.
there and tell them to fix it. Um,
Yeah.
so I was very emotional about my coffee, but
Yeah.
it just dropped off. It just dropped off. And a
Mhm.
lot of stuff, I can't eat chicken anymore. It just dropped off. Where
Yeah.
I was eating it and I just thought, I'm not really liking this much. I think I'm going to quit. I don't need it.
Yeah.
So I would just
The
recommend
I've
waiting until.
noticed I've noticed that like when it comes to coffee and heavy cream, I quit that stuff on day one. Which I didn't drink a lot of coffee anyway, but even when I did drink coffee, because I had done keto before, so I knew about the heavy cream trick or whatever to use that instead of normal creamer and all that stuff, because I learned that from keto, and so I decided no, I'm gonna go ahead and cut heavy cream out, and I was like I'm gonna cut cheese out too, and so I did all that at first. But then cheese started creeping in and I started having cheese again or whatever. And I noticed that my weight was like stalling out. I wasn't losing weight anymore. I didn't gain 20 pounds, but I may have gained 2 or maybe 3 pounds or something like that. It was just a little bloated. And so I decided to get strict and cut cheese out again. And that kind of leads me to a little confession. The past 3 days, I've had cheese again, and I haven't really had. The first time I had cheese again that I can remember was whenever I went to Carnivore Quest meetup a couple weeks ago when we had the meetup up there in South Carolina. On the way up there, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a hot dog that had cheese on the inside of it, like at the gas station,
Mhm.
and so like at a truck stop. And so I had that, and then I kind of got relaxed. I was like, man, that was pretty good. So then I got some mozzarella cheese at another gas station, and so I did pretty good not having cheese since then. But I guess because I had had that cheese, it kind of got me thinking about cheese the past few days. So then I got to thinking about like a dish that I used to make on the smoker all the time, like a queso dip. And then I made a bunch of it. And so since I made a bunch of it, I had too much of it to eat just that one day. So I've been eating that the past like 2 or 3 days. And I've noticed that I feel bloated again like I used to. And also I feel my stomach kind of hurts, like down in the bottom of my stomach, it kind of hurt. And see, since I've been on carnivore, my stomach never hurts.
Mhm.
Like it's never hurt. It's never really hurt ever since I've been on this journey. And my stomach's hurting right now. So I don't know if it hurt before carnivore and I didn't realize it, or if because I've ate so clean, now any little thing is affecting me or whatever. But having that cheese the past couple of days, every evening when I had the cheese afterwards, I feel it a little bit in my stomach right now because I had cheese. Thankfully, I just finished up the pan. So, because I didn't want to let it go to waste, I was like, I done made it now. I'm gonna eat this stuff. Because it was basically like cheese and hamburger meat, and there was no like crazy carbs in it. It was like hard cheese cut up and melted. It had some heavy cream in it,
Mhm.
and but yeah, that cheese it's messed me up. So I don't know. I gotta cut cheese out again.
Yeah, cheese is a problem. It is, and I think that sometimes in the processing they put binders in there
Mhm.
and thickeners and things like that, and it's hard to digest, and it just makes you
Yep.
feel like you're carrying lead weight around in your stomach.
Yeah,
I think
like
that.
right now, my stomach, I mean, it doesn't like hurt bad or anything, but it feels different. It does not feel like it felt before I brought cheese back in. And so it's telling me, hey, it sounds funny, but you got to cut the cheese.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Yep.
So going forward, have you got any idea of where you're headed now? Just more of the same? Have you got any plans or goals or anything?
Well, my goals is I don't want to jump to like super strict overnight, but my goals is to throughout the rest of this year and especially going into next year, because I can't believe it's already October. So I'm already starting to think about next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't think when I started Carnivore that I'd be having a conversation 10 months or 9 months later about, this. I thought I was going to do Carnivore for 2 weeks and that was it. And so I mean, but now I realize that like this has become a part of life. I used to, when I first started, I had to think about what am I going to eat today? What am I going to do this? And think about it. And now it's like becoming my new natural or nature or whatever, however you want to call it. It's just becoming a part of my life. And so uh, I just want to find ways to get it a little bit cleaner. And then I have health goals that I want to reach. I weigh probably 380 something pounds right now, probably around 382 is what I was weighing last time I weighed. I could weigh less than that, but I decided not to weigh for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but right now I do feel a little bit bloated from that cheese, so I may be up a couple pounds too. But I have goals to get the rest of this weight off and I want to lose a good chunk of it next year. And I've told my subscribers that one day I want to run a 5K. I never thought that that would be a thing that I could actually do, but now I feel like it's something that I could actually do. And so all those are things that I want to do and that I'm seeing that could be possible that I never thought that I would ever do anything like that.
That is just amazing. And I have to say, watching you on those jogging videos, it just touched my heart. I was just so happy when I saw you doing that because I thought, man, I can't believe that you are able to do that now. Because what a
Mhm.
milestone. What a great, awesome sign that you are feeling better and stronger and have more energy. And it's just been fabulous watching those. You're the only one doing that. And
Really?
running and talking and all that. I mean, that is amazing. I just
See,
absolutely
I
love
didn't know that I was the only one doing it because I don't have time to watch everybody's videos. I try to watch as much as I can, but
it.
I
Yeah.
feel like I get left out on watching a lot of it because I'm so busy. So I thought that there were more people out there doing that.
They're walking and talking, but they're not jogging. Yeah.
it's I did not think when I started this uh 9 months ago that I would be doing anything like that. Because when I was right at 500 pounds when I started, when I was worried when I laid down at night that I was gonna die. So um I was just trying to lose some weight quick, and I thought I'd probably transition into something. I thought I'd probably transition back to keto or something. But things got going in the right direction and the pounds started falling off and I started feeling better, like I don't know, I got to a point when I was walking that sometimes I just feel like it's not enough. Like today when I filmed the video, and because I filmed that video and then had it up this afternoon, I filmed it during my lunch break, and while I was out there walking, I was having to hold myself back because I felt like running in that video. But I didn't want to go too crazy while I was in my work clothes or anything like that. But it's just something has shifted in me and changed in me since I've started Carnivore, and my body's just telling me go, go, go. And I've never felt like that until now.
Wow, that just to me that just shows how much internal energy you have, and you were
Mhm.
using all of it just to carry yourself around. And now that
Mhm.
you don't have that burden, that extra amount, you're going to have so much energy. You drop another 100, you're going to be hard to hold back.
Yeah, if I drop another 100, they gonna think I'm like some karate guy or something probably because I'm gonna be dancing around everywhere. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's been crazy, and I'm still limited with my runs. I can't just run like I see people running videos and stuff like that. I've been watching some of them. I can't run like those guys and those girls, but I'm just doing what I can do. And when I need to take a break, I just start walking again. And then whenever, I feel up to it, then I'll start running again. And, I'm really trying to listen to my body because I know that I don't want to hurt myself. And I
yeah.
haven't felt any pain at all. Like that's what I've been focusing on, like is making sure I don't feel any pain or anything like that and don't hurt myself. And things have been going great. And it's I never thought I'd do it, but it's just been happening.
Yeah, those non-scale victories are so amazing, just so amazing.
Mhm.
I thought I would be doing carnivore for 30 days just to help me find out what was causing my stomach aches. And when I realized that my anxiety was pretty much gone, I mean, down to like 20% of what it was, almost gone, I said, there's something to this. This is more than just about a stomach ache. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
so I'm in for the long haul now. I've told my family, that's it. I'm eating carnivore from now on. Yeah.
Yeah, and when my shoulder stopped hurting, maybe 2 to 3 weeks in, that's when I knew. I was like, I told my wife, I said, look, I know that because in order for me to do it, she was so worried about me doing it because it doesn't sound normal. It doesn't sound like nothing we've ever been told.
Yeah.
And so she was worried, and and I love her for being worried about me and everything. So, but she was concerned, and so I told her that I was going to do it 2 weeks. And within them 2 weeks' time, when my shoulder stopped hurting, I told her, I said, babe, you ain't going to believe this. My shoulder's not hurting anymore. And it looks like I'm going to be doing this for a while. I didn't put a date on it then, but I was just like, I'm going to be doing this for a while. And then, like a month later, a couple months later went by, and I even had a family member say, oh, that pain in your shoulder might come back, or it might just ease on back in like a month or so. Like 6 months had went by, and my shoulder didn't hurt at all. My shoulder never hurt again until I cheated for 3 or 4 days. And then my shoulder started hurting again. So
Hmm.
I just need to keep doing what I'm doing.
I think that's what keeps us going. The results that we feel in our own body keeps us going. And to me, that's real. That's real. That's
Absolutely.
not hype. That's not marketing. Nobody sold us something.
Yeah, I haven't paid a dime to anybody. Only people that's made money is the grocery store whenever I go buy meat and whatever farmer raised that animal, because that's all I've done. I know there are groups out there, and I'm not against the groups. I think like if you've got the spare money and you want to get in a group and join, like I know Dr. Berry has groups and other people have groups, and that's fine and great. But you don't have to do that. Like if you want to, you can, but it's not necessary. What's necessary is buy the meat or raise the meat, however you want to do it, however you get it, get the meat and eat the meat, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. So simple. I open my refrigerator door and it's almost empty.
Mine's not empty because there's other stuff. Because my wife, she's not on the carnivore diet or anything like that. So there's other stuff in there, but I've had to learn to just deal with it because I can't. I've had people tell me, "Hey, man, you don't allow anything in your house that's not carnivore," and I'm like, if if that was the case, then like I wouldn't be able to stay married for long because I would be some controlling husband or whatever that's telling my wife she can't eat what she wants or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's not the way marriage is going to work.
No.
Just because I started carnivore, I can't just make everybody around me start. But I've had to learn ways to stick with it regardless of what other people do.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, Kip, thank you so much. I just love talking to you. I think we could go on all night.
Oh yeah, this was fun. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people, but it's really special when you talk to somebody that has been supporting you since the beginning, and you were commenting to me when nobody else was commenting to me. And so that means a lot to me. And like, I'm thankful that you know, had me on tonight to talk with you. And I can't wait to talk to you again at some point.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. It was great.
Okay.